Welcome to the Filipino American Women Project podcast show, brought to you by our family on biasboba.com.
We're your co-hosts, Jen Amos
and Nani Dominguez-Smith.
After 3 seasons of sharing stories for Pinays by Pinays, we've gained the knowledge and language to articulate our experiences, and now we're ready to tell our own.
As we venture off into the world of business partnership, we want to bring you along for the ride.
Keep listening to hear how we explore our Pinay identities together as podcasters, content creators, and entrepreneurs.
Now, let's get into the show.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Filipino American History Month. Nani, what better way to start off this incredible month than to actually launch season 4 of the Filipino American Women Project?
I know. I feel like for a second there, people didn't think there was going to be a season 4. So happy Filipino American History Month.
Yes. I think we made the trailer like a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And we honestly literally didn't know when we were going to start season 4. But with everything that has just started to come together, we realized like, wow, this is actually a perfect time to come back, right at the beginning of Filipino American History Month. And so, this particular episode today, we're still trying to figure out our style and our agenda as to how we're going to approach the show. Of course, if you listen to the trailer of season 4, you'll hear what we're aiming to do here. And so for today, what we want to talk to you about is the fact that Nani and I are getting back on Instagram. And if you've already been following us on Instagram, you may have noticed that we've been posting more and that we've been putting things in our Instagram stories. And you may have noticed that we are inviting people to be part of a group chat. And so, Nani, do you want to do the honors and let our listeners know what they're about to listen to? And also, what have we renamed it to?
Yes. So since recording this session, we have renamed this thing that we're doing to the 5-day Instagram reflection series. So that's what it's now called. But, you can call it a group chat, a reflection series, whatever you want. It's basically going to be an opportunity for a small cohort of us to get together, at a time. We'll do multiple iterations of it, but we're launching with the first one. Or we have launched with the first one by the time that you are listening to this. And it's just a chance to be in reflection, first with yourself, and then, optionally for you to do it in community with us and a few of your other fellow TFAW listeners. So if that sounds like something that interests you, then keep on listening.
Yes. And so we just wanted to say hello. Welcome to Filipino American History Month. We have more to roll out this month, a lot of exciting things. So we hope that you'll stick around and, join us every Fridays, which is when we do plan on publishing an episode now. So for everyone who has been waiting for this, we're back. Thanks for waiting. Thank you for your patience. And we promise you that it has all been worth the wait. So like I said, once again, happy Filipino American History Month. We'll talk a little bit more about what the theme of Filipino History Month or Filipino American History Month is for this month in the upcoming episodes. Until then, Nani, I'm so happy to be back with you for season 4.
I know. It feels so weird.
Yes. And this time, if you are listening to this, we want to let you know that Nani and I are going to make more of an effort to be on video. If you are watching via video, you may notice that my setup looks a little different. I'm actually recording in my bedroom right now because Virginia is getting the winds and the rains from Hurricane Ian from Florida. So I'm kind of at home right now. But either way, I managed to figure it out. So that being said, we love you all. We hope that you enjoy this episode today and learn a little bit more about the Instagram 5-day reflection series. And if you like it, please join us on Instagram. We are here to let you know we're back and we want to reinvigorate our community on Instagram and, for season 4 for that matter. So that's it, Nani. Any final thoughts before we dive into our recording today?
Yes. If you are still on Instagram, then go pull up our page right now and hit us up, like us, like our post, comment on something, DM us, but just let us know that you're still there because we're back.
Yes. Awesome. Love it. All right, y'all. Well, with that said, please enjoy this episode. And we look forward to connecting with you every Friday now for season 4 of the Filipino American Women Project.
Whoop,
Yay! All right. Bye, everyone. Oh my gosh. Here we are. Jen Amos and Nani Dominguez. Nani, I know this is like such a weird way to start off, but I'm just so ecstatic to start these co-host centric episodes with you here on the TFAW Project. So welcome back and help me out here because I just came from a very intensive last meeting.
Okay, welcome back to both Jen and I, since it's obviously been a while, and
Yes.
to you, the listener. Welcome back to our virtual solace, as historian Stacy likes to call our project here. And really, that's what it feels like. Virtual solace means like virtual living room, you guys. So in case that's not the vibe that you already have gotten from the TFAW Project podcast show, that is the vibe that we're going for now, especially now that we are not doing our traditional life lesson interview featuring a guest on these episodes. It's just going to be me and Jen chit-chatting it up and letting you guys know what's been going on in our worlds and just doing the show as we normally do, but keeping it more operational, I guess you can say.
Yes. And in case you're listening to this, we want to let you know that this is recorded via video. We both made an effort to be on camera today. So if you want to indulge us, you can check us out on YouTube, and this video will be available alongside this podcast episode. Yes, it's a different time. It's a different season as Nani sips her cup of wine, in case our listeners didn't see that. And actually, it's about to be happy hour for me, so I feel like I should run upstairs. But I also just took a caffeine mint and I don't want to fall asleep. And that's what wine makes me do. So I'm just going to let the caffeine kick in. And yeah, it's a different time. And I think today the primary goal is to let you all know how we are evolving this project and give you a little behind the scenes as to what this has been like for us now evolving our relationship, you know, not just as co-hosts, not just as friends, but now as business partners. So it's been so fun so far. We still like each other. And yeah, that's where I'm going to begin. All right. So first and foremost, for our listeners who are maybe sad about Nani and I not doing interviews moving forward, we have some exciting news. Part of why we wanted to take a step back on that, for one, is because we have other things we want to focus on. But secondly, we want to make it more accessible. We want to make sharing your story more accessible to you. And Nani and I first met, fun fact, we first met on Instagram, I believe. Nani, I think you found our show and we found love and just had
it was love at
talk.
first sight.
It was love at first sight.
Click.
Yeah, there you go. And a lot of our engagement in the past, a lot of our organic traffic had been through Instagram. And so one of the new things we want to start doing, and we hinted at this in a past episode, probably weeks ago now, is that we have decided to reinvigorate our Instagram community. We have decided that we want to make these questions, these signature questions that we often have when we interview guests, more accessible to our followers on Instagram. And so we are still fleshing this out at the time that we're recording this, but we're going to do our best to describe what this is going to be for you and really what this means right now, whether our plan comes out at the time that this gets published. What we want you to do is to get back on Instagram and subscribe to our Instagram account if you haven't already, but pay extra attention and follow the account specifically if you can do that. I don't know. I know you can do that with Facebook pages, Nani, but I don't know if you can like do that.
You follow, sorry, you guys, we sound like so Instagram retarded, and you who are listening is probably like, you guys, come on, get it together.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to own the fact that I'm an old millennial now. Like, I know I'm not like that old, but I'm owning it because I am not at all on TikTok. I'm not on.
I think that we, to begin with, were born to be like social media influencers. So I think that if you are a TFAW OG and you've been here since day one and you've seen or interacted with us when we were more active on Instagram, then you would already know that the way that we used it was very I feel like the way that I used to use our Instagram page was very humanizing. You know, it
Yeah.
really humanized our podcast show. It really humanized our project and humanized us, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for people to have access to, because essentially our show has been, for the last 3 years, has centered around the same three questions. Everyone that we've spoken to, even when, you know, you've interviewed me impromptu about my Philippines trip or, you know, random things like
Mm-hmm.
that, our questions are always meant to be a guide for the conversation, but not necessarily to like construct the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And like 10 times out of 10, it's proved us well. And I think it's been palpable on the receiving end for you to hear the interviews conducted in that way. And we realize that as draining as it is for us to do all of the preparation and execution that goes into conducting those interviews, the meat of it really doesn't require that much. And for those of you, for every person that has come onto the podcast and shared their story, you know, verbally, there are 10 more people that have either emailed us or DM'd us or texted our Google Voice number and in some way, shape, or form shared their story with us that way, you know? And so whether it's through reposting your stuff or writing you long novel email replies, we've had so many more conversations than what has been actually published on the podcast, you know, all centering around the same three kind of topics or points of conversation that we don't intend to retire. We're just not doing it in the traditional format that we have done in the past, which is interviewing our guests with those questions. So that's just a little bit of context into what we're about to announce, an offering for you and for us to dive back into Instagram. So if you are still active on Instagram and you do, you know, follow self-improvement, self-help, personal growth kind of pages and look for that type of content, we're putting together something that is going to be specifically designed for you. Okay, so now Ate, you can go ahead.
I
You
love
can
how you said for
baton.
you. That was wonderful. Yes. So we are still fleshing out the name. And you know what, Nani, I want to mention this because I often like to present projects prematurely when they're not in their complete phase. And this is something I'll talk a lot more about now that we're business partners. And now that people know that you and I are in this business partnership, if there's anything I learned in the 12 years of being self-employed is that it's impossible to get all your ducks in a row. And even if you do, actually, it's funny. That goes back to one of my first episodes that I did solo. Now that I think about it.
I always remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming back in full circle here. But you can have all your ducks in a row, but it could be an idea that no one wants to run with. You can have the perfect solution, the perfect product, the perfect idea. But if people don't latch onto it, then you wasted all that time trying to perfect something. So I have come to learn that it's okay and it's fun to invite people into projects that are still premature in their development. And so at the time of this recording, we don't have a name for it yet. And of course, to our listeners, you're more than welcome to help us with this. We would love to invite you along in this journey. On Instagram, we have decided to take all the questions that we have done for our guest, like Nani had mentioned, and put it into our new, for now, we're going to call it the 5-day group chat. That's like a super generic, lame name. Please, someone, message us and make it sound better. But the whole idea is for anyone that wants to engage with us, especially if you're new, especially if this is your first episode, especially if you're hearing about us for the first time, or it's been a long time since you've kept in touch with us and you're re-engaging with us. Instagram is my take on it's a very like non-threatening, safe space to start to engage with us, because that's where, Nani and I first started. And that's where we got a lot of our organic traffic. And so what we're going to do on Instagram is we're going to start promoting through our IG stories, through our Instagram stories. I hope I said that in the, Gen Z way, IG stories. I don't know, Insta stories. What do they say nowadays? I don't know. I'm old. It's okay. I'm going to own it.
Yeah. I mean, don't ask me. I'm not the IG, Instagram, Insta savvy person.
Yeah.
But
we're going to need some like savvy Gen Z person on here, and they'd be like, no, we're on TikTok now. They're just
Oh
gonna
my
like
God.
judge
Seriously,
us.
you guys, should we be doing this on TikTok?
I don't know. I don't know. I
Because
don't want
then
to
we
go
would
there.
have to set up a TikTok.
I really don't want to go there though.
I know.
I'm
I know.
sorry, y'all. If y'all are TikTok users, I'm sorry if I turned you off, and I will totally understand if you unsubscribe, but that's just not my headspace. I'm just like not there,
Yeah.
as at least right now in this season of my life.
Before I forget, I do just want to circle back and emphasize the reason. I know that a lot of you guys who still listen to the podcast and have listened to the podcast forever and are active on social media, on different platforms, I'm sure that you guys think to yourself or wish to yourselves that we were on. We've gotten from other people, oh, you guys need to get on Clubhouse, or you guys need to get on
Yep.
TikTok, or you guys need to get on this, you guys need to get on that, which is, I'm sure those are all very appropriate places for us to be, and very, if we were looking to like really grow our audience and grow our listenership, it would be of interest to us, and if we had the capacity. But the reason why after all this time we're circling back to Instagram and choosing that platform rather than, one of the more like trendy or popular ones in today in 2022 is because A, we started on Instagram,
Hmm.
B, the community that we've already built that we, just want to remind we're here
Yeah.
is already on Instagram. And if you are a TikTok fan or a Clubhouse fan or whatever else, YouTube, blah, 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 I'm pretty sure you're still on Instagram too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram is like
Yeah.
the one that hasn't died. And it's also at the origin of the TIFA project's journey.
Yeah. And it's a special place for us. And so right now, what we want to do is pay homage to how we started, which is on Instagram. And, we still have a very vibrant community on there. There are still there's still a lot of people in our Filipino community who are active, who are influencers on there, who are, sharing Filipino culture, our indigenous story on there. And we want to be a part of it again. And so we're diving back in. And the way that we're doing that is by announcing this group chat. And like I mentioned, you're going to start to see it in our Instagram stories. You can also direct message us. You can say, hey, I heard about this, 5-day group chat through the podcast. And I don't know what it is yet, but it sounds like we get to chat with you guys directly, and I want to be a part of it. And so if you, like I said, direct message us or you respond to one of our IG stories about the 5-day group chat, you will be invited to a 5-day group chat. So you'll be invited to a group chat in which it'll live for about 5 days. We're going to have our virtual assistant, Patricia, myself, and Nani be a part of this group chat. And for 5 days, we're going to be engaging with you and prompting you with some questions so that we can get to know you directly via chat, which I think, Nani, this is like a safe way for a lot of people who maybe aren't ready to be on the microphone, or they don't want to send us a text via Google Chat, or they don't want to email us. Like they want to still have that barrier, that boundary of like, I don't want to give you my personal information just yet. Instagram's a great place for you guys to engage with us in this 5-day group chat to, get to know us more, and we get to know you more, and, build that sense of community.
Yes. And it's also intended to be more of a like reflective practice that
Hmm.
we can all do together for 5 days. So for 5 days, we'll be in not constant contact, but in the morning, you'll receive like a little blurb or a prompt that you can then take and reflect on in your own personal time. And if you so choose, come back to the group and share, or, just share a thought that you had that came as a result of that prompt if you don't want to share your actual reflections, and listen to other people's feedback as well. And for us to kind of not just learn about each other, but also learn about ourselves in a unique and collective way in true TIFA traditional form. So, as I was talking about before, the same 3 interview questions that we've used for all of our interviews up until this point on the TIFA Project podcast, those will be the questions that we center our journal prompts or reflection prompts around for this 5-day group challenge. So, just so you get kind of the vibe of it and what direction that we're going in. Again, it's meant to be like a deeply reflective kind of exercise that you do in community with your TIFA sisters. And we're not here to like direct you or correct your pop quizzes or anything like that. We're just here to, provide the prompts and for you to have a safe space to give that feedback and to explore those thoughts, even if you have no real definitive outcomes from the prompts, just to share your thoughts, whatever is circulating in your head, whatever it got you to think about. And it's just a nice little creative way that we can all stay in touch, I guess, with the heart and the core of the TFAW project without having to do it in the traditional way that we have done for the past 3 years. So we're just moving with the times, you guys, and trying to make the TFAW effect, I guess you could call it, more accessible and more abundant.
This actually reminds me, Nani, the first time you and I met in person, along with some of our other local listeners in the Bay Area, we all communicated via IG group chat. I remember we were kind of saying oh, who's going to be there? And I remember sharing the Airbnb listing of where we were all going to meet up. And I want to continue that. I want to revive that in this 5-day group chat. And so I want to give you all an idea of what are the questions. I know that we sort of hinted at them already, but let's say, for example, on day 1, let's say you join the group chat on day 1, we ask you a simple question of, hey, how did you hear about us? And I think that's what we typically ask on the podcast, right? Nani, when we ask a guest oh, how did you hear about us and what compelled you to actually say yes, to be a guest on our show or, reach out to us to want to be on our show. And I have found that in a lot of our interviews in the past, most of them found us on Instagram. It started to get a little more surprising when they said, oh, I found you on LinkedIn, or I Googled you, or I found you in the podcast, or I found you in a podcast search. But for the most part,
find us on Instagram, then you were part of the minority.
Exactly. And so for us, it's it'll be really interesting to hear oh, how did you hear about us? How did you find us? Was it because you were looking up a hashtag or whatever, or maybe you were doing a Google search? But that information is still really good for us to know because it helps us get an idea of where everyone is living nowadays, where everyone is, kind of wanting to get this kind of information, particularly about our community. So that's day 1. So talking about day 1, asking you, how did you hear about us? Day 2, and of course, we will elaborate on this more in the actual group chat. We may have, maybe a paragraph to explain it more examples. And the fun part of the Instagram group chat is there are various ways you can engage with us, whether it's to just reply in text, reply in audio message, which I know that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, but I actually used to do that, Nani, when our followers would message us, I'd respond as an audio message. I was oh, it's just easier. Plus, and also so that they know that I'm actually responding, this is actually me. It's not like a robot or something like that. I wanted to give that extra level of authenticity, Also, you can take a photo. If for whatever reason, I mean, hopefully it's an appropriate photo, but it's, you can take a photo of your day, because one of the other questions that, actually, I'll get to that later, but the second question we ask on day 2 is, what's your background? And I wanted to make sure, because I know that we are having just a diverse group of people really engaging with our project. This is not just for Filipino American women. We have had all sorts of people get engaged in our project, in our Discord community specifically, and in our book clubs. And so I wanted to make sure I asked this question a little more broadly. So the second question we'll ask on day 2 is, tell us about your background as someone who is of Filipino descent, or, your connection to the Filipino community. I thought that's a little more broad. I think it's a little more inclusive of a question, because if there's anything we know about our Filipino community historically, is that we've always, blended in or meshed with other cultures. That's just a part of our nature, to mix or to, kind of be immersed in, let's say, white suburbia or in other spaces. It's we're not in a silo, right? I don't know the word I'm looking for. We're not just on an island and known as Filipino community. Did I say that right?
We're not a monolith. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. See, that's the word that I need to say more often. Every time you say it, I'm that's a big word that I need to say. But yeah, so we wanted to make that more broad question, because we truly want to know what your background is and how our stories are now intertwining now that you're part of this group chat. So now moving on to day 3, the next question we will ask is, share a snapshot of your life today. And I think this will be fun, because for people who maybe aren't big on texting, they can just take a snapshot of their office or a snapshot of them walking. I think it'll be a fun way to interact with everyone.
Your
Yeah,
coffee,
exactly.
your
So something
lunch.
that's very fun, very
Yeah.
fun and simple. You know, you don't have to like be very introspective about this one. It's kind of like, hey, just what are you up to? Take a photo or, you know, just let us know. And then the fourth day is we want to ask you, because our show is notoriously known for sharing life lessons. Day 4, we want to ask, what's your life lesson as of late? Or what is an epiphany? Or what's a mantra? Or what's a quote that you came across recently that really inspired you for the day? Go ahead and share that.
Or even an affirmation or an intention that you set for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's always fun. Our Instagram feed itself is full of life lessons and quotes from everyone who has engaged with us in our community, especially the ones that we've talked on, whether it's on the TFAW Project or Chismis of Jen and Nani. And so we want to know. And the thing is, Nani, I can never get enough of life lessons. I am a student forever. Like I am never gonna like learn it all. And
Yeah.
so if I can learn in community, if I can learn through you, you know, what your life lesson is, what your mantra is, what your intention of the day is, I want to hear it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Cool.
Sorry, I had a thought and then it left.
It's okay. I know I didn't really prepare you for that one. It's just, my caffeine mint finally kicked in, but I'm just now it kicked in.
I get it. No, you're on a roll. Go for it.
I went from like 0 to like 100 really fast. It's fun. And then the last day, and I want to make sure, I want to have this full transparency because I feel like everyone would appreciate like kind of knowing what happens on day 5. So even though we like, yes, we say it's a 5-day group chat, because even though we're going to keep the group active and open, or even though we're going to keep the group open, even after the 5 days is over, Nani and I are going to be focused on the next group chat, or we're going to be focused on other communities, you know, but the whole idea is to have like a 5-day container of, you know, just engagement, whether it's from me, from Nani, or from Patricia, or even from, you know, the people who are part of this group chat. We hope that together that you're not just looking at, you know, Nani and I as the facilitators, but you're looking toward each other to have this dialogue. And so, you know, we hope that after the 5-day group chat, that you will continue to engage with the people that were part of the group chat, because we're not going to delete it. We're going to leave it there. We're just going to start a new one for the next 5-day. But, you know, hopefully you'll be able to, you know, continue on with us. And so day 5 is all about where do we go from here? And so if you enjoy this 5-day group chat with us, we will let you know of other ways to stay in touch with us. So for example, you know, we have our free Discord community. And you know what? I have to mention this, Nani, because we've already had this feedback. I get that Discord isn't for everyone. Like, I know that, like, it's, you know, it's often, at least for me, my first impression of Discord is for gamers, like people who play video games, and that's their way of engaging with each other, you know, or it's generally for the, you know, millennials or Gen Zs. And, you know, otherwise, you know, if you're not in those categories, it seems like a very, like, you know, young environment for some of our listeners to want to indulge in. And I totally get that. And so if you're that kind of person that's like, oh, I don't want to be part of Discord, like that's for my kids, that's not my space. However, if you do like Discord, please come. We'd love to have you there. If you do not want to join us on Discord, another thing we will propose is our book club. Our book club is a monthly meetup as of right now. As of right now, it's a monthly meetup. And it's a great way for all of you to connect with us once a month or whenever you have time to talk about whatever book we're talking about. Or if you didn't read the book, to just hang out and learn vicariously through all the other people in the group chat who did read the book. And I think that's a great way for some people who may not want to be involved in like chatting with us every single day, which I totally understand, but you still want to be plugged into the community. You still want to learn about your culture in community with us. That is what our book club is for. And that is as easy as, you know, buying us 1 cup of boba on buyusboba.com. And of course, if, you know, you are not ready to make that initial financial investment of 1 cup of boba, that is totally fine as well, because we have our newsletter. And so our newsletter is typically a weekly resource for you to learn about the latest episodes we have released on TIFA or on our private podcast show, Chismis with Jen and Nani, for our buyusboba.com members. And, you know, Nani always often puts a lovely opening message every single time that every time I read it, it gets me to be introspective. So I think that's intentional. That's made by design to look inward. But Nani, since you and Patricia work on the newsletter primarily, any thoughts about the newsletter?
Yeah, I think if this 5-day workshop sounds like something that you guys would be interested in the sense of, getting daily reflection prompts and having a space to come back and share and kind of explore whatever comes up, then Discord and the newsletter are both great options for you to kind of keep the party going after
Hmm.
those 5 days. And even if you don't join the 5-day challenge, those are also good ways just to plug in with us. And I like what you said. I'm like thinking in taglines now, Jen. When you
Love
said
it.
learning about culture through community, I think that
Yeah.
that is really the main intention for our Discord channel and for our newsletter, both of which are free. So again, it's
Yeah.
just dependent on like you, your preferences, your boundaries, what your relationship to those apps on your phone, whether it be your email or a Discord. If you guys are already on Discord, then you guys should definitely add the TIFA Project channel or community or room or whatever you call it, because there's lots going on in there that you don't want to miss out on. But if you do want to just peek in from time to time and get the pulse on the community, like I like to say, the newsletter is also a great option that comes straight to your email every week. And like Jen said, it includes a introspective or a message from me that is meant to encourage you to be introspective. So I'm glad that that's the effect that it's having. And that will be kind of the same intention with the IG challenge. So
Hmm.
if you like that, then you can subscribe to the newsletter to get that every single week, plus more, plus, latest episode releases, other ways to engage, areas in media that Jen and I are featured in that week, lots of other stuff. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about the newsletter before. So you are probably familiar with what's in it. And if you're not, then you should just subscribe to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are not ready to subscribe, because, we're here, the important thing is to meet you all where you're at. We often share the newsletter on our social media feeds anyway. Like if you go to Instagram, for example, and select our bio link, you'll see an option to read our latest newsletter, or, you'll see it on all our socials essentially. And I think ultimately what we're trying to say here is that we want to meet you where you're at. And we hope that you will meet us halfway with, all the things that we have put out
With
there.
all these options we're giving you.
Yeah, with all these options. And, if this is your first time listening or you're re engaging with us and you want to start small, I believe that the 5-day group chat on Instagram is going to be great for you. Again, if you do want to join it, you could always, let's say, text message us your IG handle at 415-484-8329. You can also just direct message us on our Instagram account, which is the Filipino American Woman. Or you can, what else? How other ways can people notify us? You can email us. You can tell us on Discord. You can tell us, there's lots of ways. I'm sure if you want to do it, you will let us know and we
You'll
will find
find a
out.
way.
Yeah. And I do want to also highlight that, our primary focus, because of our bandwidth and our time, our primary focus of engagement is going to be Instagram. So if you have ever messaged us on, let's say, Facebook or Twitter or, even LinkedIn or YouTube, if we're not responding, it's because we only have so much bandwidth to look in all those spaces. Yes, we're pushing out content still. We're still, doing some throwbacks on past episodes and even what we have available now on Chismis with Jen and Nani for our biasboba.com members. But our primary focus now is going to be on Instagram. And we really hope that you'll join us because we want to re-engage with all of you. And like Nani has said often, get a pulse of how the community has been doing, since we've really taken a step back from Instagram.
Yes. Bar, I do have a thought, but I don't want to share it while
Oh, okay.
we
Is it like TJN talk or just a random thought?
Yeah, it's definitely more like TJN type of content. So we can just you can leave that there as a little teaser if you want to, Dennis. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Nani, it's funny because this might sound a little off. We actually took a quick break to talk some chismis. And I want to mention this openly because in our upcoming episodes here for our more co-host centric show, Nani and I may start to reveal more things and we may want to reserve it for Chismis with Jen and Nani. So we're going to start hinting at you saying like, hey, I got some chismis. And if you don't hear it here, it's because you're going to hear the full version on Chismis with Jen and Nani. So Nana, are you excited to be more real, but also like kind of filter it for just our TJN members or TJN listeners?
I am happy to take my emotional rants that I go on Chismes with Jen and Nani and clip them for TJN. I'm sorry, for TIFA, to give you guys a little taste of the type of content that we post on TJN if you haven't already heard or become a member. However, yeah, the real Chismes is going to be over there. So
Yes.
enjoy the little teasers that you do get here, and just know there's the grass is greener on the other side, you guys, as we were just discussing offline. And that will not be published on TJN, but maybe in a week or two it will. So
Exactly.
stay tuned.
Yeah. Because, part of this new thing that we're navigating together in this recording is, there are going to be some things like, because because you're getting like the play-by-play with our new business partnership and everything, which we'll get to a little more later. There's going to be some things where we're like, you know what, as much as I liked sharing that publicly, I think that will be best reserved for our biasboba.com members and our Chismes with Jen and Nani podcast. So yeah, get ready for that. Get ready for that and what's to be revealed in the upcoming episodes. And so with that said, in the recording that we just did, and I'm saying this because we totally took a side turn for some chismes, to wrap up, we were explaining what we plan on doing to revitalize our community on Instagram, which is to have this 5-day group chat. So if you are listening to this recording, if you want to reconnect with us, if you want to connect with us for the first time, join us on Instagram, the Filipino American Woman, and direct message us and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more of the 5-day group chat. And we would love to have you. And so stay tuned for all those updates, and we'll start announcing it on Instagram stories. Now, the reason why we mention all this is because Nani and I are prepping for something new we want to offer to our community. And we're not going to get into all the details just yet. So without revealing too much details, Nani and I want to take this telling your story to a deeper level by doing it in community with all of you. And so I'm still trying to find the words to describe this. And maybe not, you can help me as you take a sip of wine.
Okay, did you hear that gulp? It's a big gulp.
Yeah.
It's my last gulp, actually, before I need to refill my cup. But my baby's out there, so I'm hiding from him in here.
Yes. Just staying a little longer.
Exactly.
Hold your pee.
As long as I can.
Yeah.
So remember how in the last 100 episodes, we've been teasing that we have big things planned for you guys, that we have big announcements coming. So we are starting to roll out some of these big announcements. One being the Instagram 5-day group chat challenge that we just talked about. And we probably didn't finish talking about it because we got sidetracked.
But if you're interested.
Yeah, thanks to me. So sorry about that little pause.
If it made some sense and it piqued your curiosity.
Yeah. After this episode is published and we listen to it and see what we said and what we didn't say, then maybe we can do a follow-up with anything that we missed. But you guys get the point. We're doing a 5-day group challenge on Instagram that you guys can join by DMing us, texting us, emailing us, however else. Talking to us on Discord. However else you guys choose to be in community with us, you can join that way. And just make sure you are following our Instagram account and have your post notifications turned on so that you are notified when we drop those story announcements, letting you guys know the details of that and how to get in. So the second big announcement that we have for you guys that we are going to just toy with today, not give you all the details, but we're going to give you a quick little overview of what we're doing. As we have told you now for several episodes, Jen and I are deciding to actually go into business together. And I know that we haven't really disclosed the details on what that means or what we'll be doing, but
and we're going to stop it right there. Sorry, guys. Jen Amos here, jumping in to cut off the point when Nani is about to give you a teaser on our next major announcement. If you are bummed and you're like, no, Jen, why'd you cut Nani off? Well, hopefully this will make you feel better. Here's my dog. Say hi, Stoogie. There you go. That's my dog. We are out of town right now, but hopefully that makes up for things. Anyway, everyone, just again, thank you so much. We're so happy to be back here for the Filipino American Women Project for season 4. And we will continue our weekly show next Friday, in which Nani will be revealing the next major announcement we have. In the meantime, happy Filipino American History Month. Please celebrate this month with us by re-engaging with us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is The Filipino American Woman. It's a long name, but I think it's easy to spell. Once again, The Filipino American Woman. Or, of course, you can check the show notes of this episode. So once again, thank you all so much for joining us. Happy Filipino American History Month. We look forward to re-engaging with you on Instagram. And in case you want to see my dog one more time, here he is. Say hi, Stoogie. He's not happy, of course. All right, y'all. Happy Filipino American History Month. See you next Friday. Or on Instagram. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Filipino American Women Project podcast show.
Do you want to continue to be part of the conversation? Then join our Discord community for free today. Check out the link in the show notes to join us now.
And don't forget to subscribe to our weekly newsletter for the latest show updates and episode releases. The link is also available in the show notes.
Lastly, if you wish to support us on our journey, consider showing us some love on biasboba.com.
That's all for now. Chat with you next time.
Yay!